Welcome to Roary's Roundtable, an opportunity to talk the game of football with our pal Roary, presented by University of Michigan Credit Union. My name is Chris Fritching.
Hi, I'm Pat Sherrill.
And what we're going to talk about in this session, by the way, there's Roary. Check it out. He walked in. Thanks for being here, Roary. What we're going to talk about right now is the ability to understand officials' hand signals and officials' hand signals that you might see from what, Roary? We're talking officials. They're a part of the game as well. You've got to make sure that you understand their importance within having this game being officiated correctly. So what we're going to talk about is defensive hand signals that you might see on the football field. And Roary, do you think you know those defensive signals? He knows them, okay. Now, last time, Pat, he did not have his jersey on, his official's jersey on. You said something about zebras, and he got all excited.
Yeah, I don't know how zebras and lions mesh. I'm not sure that whole relationship there. And so I know Rory's rubbing his tummy and the whole thing. So I don't know. Maybe it's not the best idea that Roary has anything zebra related on.
Okay, fair enough. Well, let's just call them officials then. Okay. Roary, you know what? We're going to teach the kids and parents and coaches about these official signals. Let's head to class. Professor Roary, Coach Roary, are you ready? All right, let's get to work. Let's talk about the official signals that you might see on the defensive side of the football. Now, we talked about this same signal on the offensive side, but what we're going to talk about here is defensive pass interference. Now, when Matthew Stafford throws a ball to Kenny Golladay, and the ball's hung up in the air, and Kenny Golladay gets pushed before the ball actually gets to him. That's what we call, that's what we call defensive pass interference. And all we're going to do there is, Roary, what was that signal again? All right, he's pushing his hands out, extending his hands out in front of him. He's pointing to the defense. And then in the NFL, that's what we call a spot foul. What does that mean, Pat, when we talk about spot foul?
Spot foul. So sometimes you throw that 40-yard pass down the field, right? And then you get that pass interference call. I mean, that's a huge penalty because that's essentially wherever that foul took place is where they're going to mark that ball off. And so, I mean, that's a big chunk of yardage to be able to gain in one play, and that's a big penalty you got to keep an eye on.
So what if defensive pass interference happened in the end zone? What happens with the ball placement there?
Yeah, that's right, Rory. You put the ball on the 1 yard line, right? So again, you're at the 50-yard line. You throw the ball all the way down into the end zone. There's a pass interference call in the end zone. They're going to put the ball at the 1 yard line. So that's a 49-yard gain right there and a penalty. So that's huge. You got to really be aware of that.
So the difference in youth and high school football is that defensive pass interference call that Roary extends his arms is not a spot foul. At the youth and high school football level, it is, what was that, Roary? 15-yard penalty. Good. That's a 15-yard penalty from where that ball was at the line of scrimmage, 15 yards downfield. That's what that penalty is at the younger level. So keep that in mind. That's the difference between the two levels of the game of football. All right. The next penalty, what are you doing? Oh, you're waiting for the next penalty. I got you, Roary. Okay. Is what we call a neutral zone infraction. Now, that might sound very difficult. I know, Roary, it might blow your mind a little bit, but talk, if you would, Pat, about what the neutral zone is and then what that infraction is off of that.
Yeah, so neutral zone's kind of like like an imaginary wall or imaginary line that goes all the way across the field from where the ball is. So say the ball is at the 50-yard line, all right? The offense has to be on this side of the 50-yard line, all right? And the defense has to be on this side of the 50-yard line, okay? And that's including when they line up, all right? So what happens sometimes, right, are those defensive linemen, or maybe it's an outside linebacker or somebody up at the line of scrimmage, they get too close, right? And they're actually over that imaginary line that in the neutral zone is what we call it, all right? And so what a referee's going to do is he's going to throw a penalty flag and say, hey, you got to scoot back some. You're too close. You're over the line of scrimmage, all right? So that's what a neutral zone infraction is.
And that's a 5-yard penalty. So exactly, and that's the signal. Very good, Rory. Neutral zone infraction. All right, let's talk about some penalties that are maybe a little bit more severe in terms of the yardage that is marked off. Let's talk about, Rory, yeah, exactly, a personal foul, okay? Personal foul is typically, that's the signal, typically 15 yards. And then on defense, it's an automatic first down for the offense. So what was that signal again, Rory, for the personal foul? Excellent. Okay, good. Now let's talk about this. Personal foul, unsportsmanlike conduct. What would that signal be? Personal foul, unsportsmanlike conduct, okay? And in this case, he's pointing to the defense, to Rory's left, our right. Very good. Now, what if, Rory, that personal foul was the second personal foul on that individual, unsportsmanlike conduct? What would happen then? Personal foul, unsportsmanlike conduct, defense, and then what was that? I think, Pat, he's throwing him out of the game.
Yeah. I mean, hey, there are standards you have to play by when you're playing the game. And if you can't meet those standards, and if you can't use good character and judgment when you're playing, then there's no room for anybody out there in the field that's not following the rules. So, yeah, referee's going to toss them. They're going to get them out of there.
Disqualification if that official has two – I'm sorry, if that player has two of those unsportsmanlike conduct penalties on him. Very good, Rory. All right, next personal foul we want to talk about is roughing the passer. So what kind of situation, Pat, does this happen in?
All right, so again, the defensive linemen love getting after those quarterbacks, right? They want those sacks. They want to sack the quarterback, and so so when that ball is snapped and it's a passing situation, and they see that quarterback sitting back there, all right, they're going to take off after that quarterback. Now, a quarterback is also protected on the field, so you got to have rules in place to be able to protect the quarterbacks. Okay, and so that quarterback gets that ball off in time. Right, and then he's just standing there, and then all of a sudden, he gets tackled out of nowhere. Right, that's where the foul takes place. Okay, so it's a fine line, and it's sometimes a judgment call that that takes place. Yeah, you got to be. It's a very fine line that they got to walk as defensive linemen, right? But essentially what happens is they hit the quarterback after the ball is thrown.
Personal foul, roughing the passer. Very good, Rory. That's a 15-yard penalty on the defense. All right, and more times than not, that results in an automatic first down. All right. Now, next one we want to talk about is this. When you're going out as a defender to try to tackle somebody, a lot of times you might be out of position, and you're just trying to get your hands on that individual ball carrier. And sometimes, unfortunately, that hand gets up into what we call the face area. And player health and safety is so important on making sure that we're protecting everybody as best we can. And sometimes personal foul face mask penalty is called because what happens, Pat?
Yeah, you get around the face mask, the cage there, anywhere around the head, right? I mean, we're gonna, referees again, player health and safety want to take care of these guys. So you got to make sure you got to keep your hands away from the face mask. You can't grab that thing and yank it. And, as long as you do that, you're going to be okay. But if your hands get up around the face and you're pulling on the face mask and the referee sees that, he's going to call a penalty for it.
Personal foul, face mask. All right. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down. Wow. Those are some defensive signals, penalty signals that you'll see our officials do, the head official do at games. And so those are, again, important parts of the game of football. And as we get to understand this game of football a lot better as kids, maybe we can start making our own calls on the field as we're watching a game on TV. If you're coming down to Ford Field to observe what's taking place on the field, we always seem to want those penalties that go against the team we're going against and not against us. but it's a very difficult game to play, and that's why there has to be officials there to monitor both sides to make sure the game is as even and as fair as possible. Well done, Roary. I think you might have a future as an official. Do you have any interest at all?
None?
No.
Okay.
Well, you're pretty good, Roary. But you know what, Roary? This is pretty neat because you're there studying that side of the game of football as well. And it's important to understand how to, if you're playing on offense, if you're playing on defense, how not to do those things so you can learn the game better and you can be a better football player as a result of it. Excellent, Roary. What do you think, Pat?
Yeah, no, that was fun talking. I mean, it's only going to help you as players understand the rules, and then, you know, as fans and people that watch it, it helps as well. You got to, you know, keep an eye out for things. You know, sometimes those calls are missed, and, you know, you got to be able to, you know, watch the game and see it, and you know, it's good to follow along.
Thanks for being here, Roary. Professor Roary, Coach Roary. This time it's an official Roary. Thanks for being part of Roary's Roundtable. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.